So Ryan Stewman, you are the hardcore closer. You are known in the sales field. You have made a name for yourself. I would like to thank you for doing this and sharing your success story with us for the Success Factor, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for you and the book and everything else, dude. You're doing good stuff. So keep it coming.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. So let me ask you, before we get into sales, before we get into success, I want to ask you about you. If I met you in high school, what would Ryan be like? What would I think about you?
It's funny because I just posted a picture the other day on Facebook where I was like, I had long hair and baggy pants and like a baggy t-shirt, and I had like cigarettes. I guess I smoked cigarettes, and I had like an ashtray in front of me and a good old Dickies barbecue cup. That's probably fine china in my house. You know what I'm saying? And an old Dickies barbecue cup. Shoot, if you were lucky enough to find one of those, you were drinking good that night. But really, I wasn't much. It's just like a lower middle class or lower class. I don't know. You don't really know as a kid. But, my dad worked at a car wash, and my mom was like an accountant or maybe a payroll person or something like that. So if you met me in high school, I sold little drugs, made a lot of mistakes, like to fight, shit like that. So if you were to meet me in high school, you'd probably think I was a loser.
So how did you transition into sales and succeed and become who you are today?
Well, it's actually, so at age 8, I was out of control. So I've been adopted and all this other stuff, man. And my parents didn't really understand me. And so like at age 8, my stepdad would take me, the guy that adopted me would take me to the car wash that he managed. And, it started off on like Saturdays and Sundays. I'd just go like vacuum cars at the car wash or mow the yard or pull weeds or something to get me the hell out of my mom's hair, And I noticed that the dudes that sold the car washes didn't have to get out in the sun and actually wash them. And so it's like, as a young man, I'm like, okay. So duly noted, if you sell these things, you don't have to actually clean them. And my stepdad told me, he's like, by the time you're 13, you can sell these cars. But until then, you can't really see over the hood of the car once you get run over, And so at 13, I held him to that. He worked there for forever. He probably still does. And I held them to that. And so I started, doing car washes and selling car washes. My job was basically, if you came in wanting a $6 car wash, I sold you a $10 car wash. But through that, the car wash was kind of in the hood, like most car washes are, right? Because that's the only places that can afford to put a car wash in. I met some drug dealers and ended up, making some bad decisions. But really, like, that was my first, like, some people, they get offered like multi-level marketing. I got offered drugs. I didn't know any better. And in my neighborhood, it was kind of normal anyway. And so because that, went to prison, got out of prison, went right back to work at that car wash. And man, I thought my only chance to make it in life was selling car washes. That was it. Like, I better just be the best on the world at it. And I had no choice. And one of the customers, it was like a regular customer, I guess she owned a mortgage brokerage. She offered me a job and trained me. And I ended up making, like, within the first couple months that I worked there, like $20-something thousand. Wow. And at that moment, I knew I really wanted to be rich. And I also knew that, this was a chance for me not to mess something up. But dude, I've had such a life of ups and downs, but sales has been the one thing that's always there for me, man. No matter how bad things get, like right now I'm having to deal with some shit in business, and and I'm not going to my team going, we got to fix this. We got to blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, we got to just sell more stuff. And like money, if we just have to make more money so we can throw it at the problem. That's it, and
right.
And, I've been to prison. I've been divorced. I've been adopted. I've been like broke, rich, homeless, poor, like, dude, you name it, everything in between, up, down, left, right, sideways. I've been everything. And sales has been the one thing that's never judged me. It's never told me I wasn't welcome back. I've always found a way for sales to be the mechanism to get me back to where I needed to go in life.
Got you. And you actually go into funnels and sales later on. We're going to get into that in a second. But let me ask you this: how did the name The Hardcore Closer come about? Because I was actually very impressed with that.
Man, I'd like to say that I was smart enough to think of it for branding or some shit like that, but that's not what worked at all. So I've been in the mortgage business for a long time. Like, I don't know, it seemed like a long time to me. At that time in my life, it's the longest thing I'd ever done. I was there for like 8 years. Mm-hmm. And I lost my license because they wouldn't give felons licenses to do mortgages anymore. It was a new rule that got instated. I needed to come up with something. So I was one day I was sitting at this title company watching the Masters on TV, drinking a couple beers, with one of the people. And this new title rep person came up and gave me her business card. She's like a little old lady. And she gave me a business card and it said closer on it. And we had a couple beers. So I'm like, this is the real hardcore closer. Like I've been in sales my whole life at this point, still am. And I'm like, this is the real hardcore closer, Barbara or Janice or whatever, Margaret or whatever the hell her name was. Right. And we just cracked. I was like, I wonder if anybody's ever registered that domain. And so like, Drunk Ryan registers this domain during the Masters, and I think it's a Masters. It was some golf tournament we were watching regardless. And so the next couple of days, like back then, I've been making websites and funnels for a long time. And before ClickFunnels existed, before Lead Pages existed, before Wix or Squarespace or even my company phone sites existed, there was WordPress. And that was really the only thing. And then Optimized Press was like the first build on that you could get from WordPress. I know WordPress is still around. I still use it, but Optimized Press, I don't even think it's around anymore. But long story short, I set up this blog the next couple of days and I start making some videos so that I could use them to prospect some clients. You got to remember, back then, if I told you you can make money on social media, nobody would believe me, right? I'd be like, dude, you can make money from social media. You'd be like, Facebook, get out of here. They didn't even call it social media. It was just Facebook. There was no social media. It was just Facebook. And, well, because of that, and the website, so I had to be like really pushy to close people. And then because of the website, they started calling me the hardcore closer, which was never my intention. My intention was just to have this website, and teach hardcore sales stuff, but not to be. I wanted to be Ryan Stewman, and it just kind of happened. But so the marketplace gives me this nickname, and people start meeting me around town and shit and introducing me, kind of like you did as the hardcore closer. And I'm not going to correct them because, like, first of all, if somebody like introduces you and they say like, this dude's a hardcore closer, and you're like, oh man, I really prefer not to be that nickname. First of all, they'd be like, well, then why did you register the website? Right. But second of all, like, what if they give me a worse nickname? Right. Like I like hardcore closer. It's not bad. It's not a bad nickname to have. It's not a bad reputation to have.
I'm kind of jealous of it, man.
Yeah, but and I have it trademarked and all that other good stuff, so I have like, it's mine. But at the same time, it's like, what if I would have passed on that and been like, oh no, I don't want to be the hardcore closer. I'm Ryan Stewman. And then they started calling me, fucking, the fairy closer or something. I don't know. It could have been closer. Here's the fairy god closer, right? Or whatever the hell, right? Just, it could be bad. I know that if the marketplace gives you a cool nickname, you run with that shit because the next one may not be as good.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff, man. That's awesome. And so you got into funnels before ClickFunnels and all this. How do funnels make a difference? And because I have some basic knowledge, but you're actually known for this. This is your thing. What kind of give me an example of a funnel, like in something?
Well, first, let me like, I can do that. Absolutely. And let me take a step back and explain something. So I've never had a salaried job. I've never had a job where you show up and you get paid whether you show up or not. I've never had like paid time off, like legit, still to this fucking day, right? I'm 40 years old. I've never had a job that was something other than commission, right? Sure, I own the companies and I'm on salary now, but it's my companies that, you know what I mean? Like I got to go make the sales and make the shit happen to get the money, right? So long story short, I because I'm a felon, corporations won't really hire me W-2 and traditional, they'll hire me as a contract salesperson, but they typically won't, pull me in and give me 401k benefits and insurance and stuff because, I'm a two-time felon. Well, because of that, I knew that like my job, like interests and stuff were limited, right? And so the kind of jobs that would give me a job would be like, okay, go get your own leads and close your own deals and we'll pay you. So I had to go out and learn how to like talk to people and get deals, not only just sell them. Like some people, they have a job where it's like inbound leads, and that's awesome, right? Those are the best sales jobs to have because you ain't got to go out and you ain't got to do the marketing.
Yeah.
But me, I had to do the marketing and the sales. So when I was in the mortgage business, my first move that I did was I would go out to seminars. It's like this Friday at the Hilton Hotel, 2 p.m., free seminar on real estate investing. And I would show up. And all the people who signed up, I would give them my business card and be like, hey, I can get you money for the investment properties you're trying to do. And then I bought the course and started going to the class and started getting loans from those people and blew up, right? Like I knew how to go in and market. In 2006, I started farming neighborhoods with postcards. So I went and I had these two, this is before Photoshop. I had these two little white Maltese dogs. And so me and my girlfriend at the time, we would dye them pink and take pictures together, right? It was this whole like, totally gay family picture thing, right? Where I was wearing like a cardigan and stuff, dude, but it was hilarious.
It works.
And it worked, you know what I mean? And so I knew that most real estate agents are female, and females, they can't pass up a pink dog. You know what I'm saying? It's too damn cute. They were cute as shit. They were cute dogs. And so the female realtors would call me and I would talk to them and they would always say, how did you dye those dogs? Is that Photoshop? It's like, dude, I don't know what Photoshop is. But I did it with Kool-Aid and blah, blah, blah. If you like, I'd like to, because here's what that really was. It was marketing. I got your attention. Let's talk about how you can do the same thing. Right. And then I had this pitch. So I knew how to go get my own leads and stuff like that. So as soon as I saw that you could get leads online and how that process actually worked, I was like, oh shit. Like, I'll never forget the moment that I realized that websites and buttons on websites were just simply hyperlinked images together. The moment I realized that, I was like, oh shit, this changes everything. So I can just create web pages with whatever I want and put stuff on them. So I uploaded I bought a training program, uploaded WordPress, and, started generating leads, and then I realized you could do it on Facebook. I can make a post on Facebook and people will hit me up, and those are leads to talk to. And then I started realizing how important it was as a salesperson. Like all these people were out there, and now it's different. I changed the industry. See, before I stepped in here as the hardcore closer, everybody wore suit and ties, went to church on Sunday, didn't cuss, none of that shit. I'm telling you, I saw it happen. I step on the scene. I'm just myself. I'm cussing, doing whatever I want, wearing t-shirts, have tattoos, but I'm not teaching just sales. I'm not the Grant Cardones or the Zig Ziglar type of people, right? Like I'm over here teaching people. It's like, cool, there's lots of sales training, and that's great. You can be great at sales, but if you don't know how to get leads, like, it doesn't matter if you're the greatest salesperson on the planet. If you don't have anybody to sell to, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I start teaching salespeople the importance of lead gen. But here's the thing, Paul, is salespeople disregard lead gen because it's usually low-paid marketing girls or guys down the hall that do it, right? And so they're like, well, they just generate leads and they get paid like $40,000 a year. I'm a closer, make $200,000 a year. This is what I do. And the truth is, when you can become a salesperson that can get your own leads and close your own sales, you become powerful. You get a job doing anything, anytime, anywhere, write your own check. And so I set out on this journey to be able to help people do that. And through that time, I created my own software called Phone Sites. And with phone, I saw the average sales guy is not going to take the time to go learn what I did in WordPress. They're not going to learn what I did in, like we talked about, ClickFunnels or lead pages, because it's complicated technology. So I need something that was like super fast and effective for salespeople that can make their life a lot easier than mine. And it's taken off really well. We've had over 10,000 people sign up for our software in the last year.
Wow, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So you have your own. So you have your own software. I by the way, for the people watching, I'm going to leave links to Ryan Stewman's channels, website, software, everything down in the description below. I strongly suggest you check him out. He is the hardcore closer. Check him out. Don't forget that. I'm actually very impressed. I've been watching you for a while. Actually, I'm in the Facebook group and everything. So let me ask you this. There's something to be said about success and sales. First of all, what does success mean to you?
Well, that's a big deal for a lot of people because they don't have a definition of success. And about 3 years ago, I wrote down my perfect day. And every day that I get to live that perfect day is a success. And it's not anything extravagant where, like, you know, I have 20 naked women feeding me grapes and cheese first thing in the morning from the finest linens of the, you know what I mean? It's nothing like that. It's just, you know, the perfect day. If I have to live this day over and over again, here's what I expect. And I live that. So I think it's a success. You know, it's not a lot of people think it's a dollar amount. It's usually not.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that it's a job. It's usually not. It really, success is a state of mind, but you have to define what that state of mind is in order for you to use. Because here's the problem. Most people, they might be successful and not even realize or know it because they never define what it is in the first place. And they're so caught up on moving forward. They don't get to realize, like, I don't believe there's such thing as like work-life balance. And if you do the math, which we don't have the time to do it, it's impossible anyway. But really what the true balance that we should be looking for is like being grateful for what we have while pursuing what's next, you know, and a lot of people don't understand that, but that's the real balance. Like, if you're not grateful for what you have right now, like, you can be successful financially all you want, but if you're not grateful for the things and the people that you have in your life, then you're not truly successful. You can, you know, like me right now, I'll tell you how I know I'm successful is I wouldn't trade places. I wouldn't put my life in place with Bill Gates. I wouldn't do it. Or Warren Buffett, or Jeff Bezos, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm pretty sure not Elon Musk. Maybe he seems like he might be kind of cool, but for the most part, no. Now, I might trade bank accounts with them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm no fool. I'll take their bank accounts, but I wouldn't want their life. Like, Bill's, none of those guys' wives are as hot as mine or cool as mine, and none of their kids seem as cool as mine. And, you know, and like, yeah, they may have yachts and things like that. But dude, I enjoy things on my own too that are a little bit different than that. I'm not really a boat guy anyhow, but to me, that's real success, right? So I live out that perfect day that I define. So you'll never, like, for those people listening or watching or whatever, you never truly know what success is until you define it ahead of time anyway.
Do you think anybody can be successful though in life in general?
I used to say, yeah, anybody can do this, man. But I've been doing this so long that I'm just be real. A lot of people don't have it in them. You know, if they, let me rephrase that. I think a lot of people, I think everybody has it in them. A lot of people just don't really want it, you know, and the reason why they don't want it is a lot of people think they don't deserve it. And since they think they don't deserve it, they don't take the actions towards getting it. So, you know, if you'd asked me that maybe 2 years ago, I'd be like, hey, oh yeah, if I got it, you can get it too. But I think a lot of people don't want it. You know, there's this thing on the planet I call the force of average. And a lot of people are just held back by it. You know, it's real easy to be comfortable and average and even below average here. You know, like, think about it. Like, to the extreme, it's a lot easier to be homeless than it is to be a millionaire. Hear me out. People would think that it would be easier to be a millionaire than it is homeless. Well, first of all, the millionaire most likely had to work. I was homeless at one point. Most likely had to work their way up. Andy Frisella slept on a cot in the back of his warehouse. I mean, that's not much different than being homeless. You know what I mean? And people think that, you know, these millionaires have these great lives, but here's what's up, man. When you're a millionaire, you're not sitting back on your yacht somewhere, dude. You're running a business. You're here on this podcast. You're here in this studio. You're managing employees. You're managing debt loads, profit and loss, investors, ROI, and everybody breathing fire down your back. Dude, when you're homeless, you show up at 7:00 at the soup kitchen, they feed you, and you don't even have to work for it. You know what I mean? You're sick. You show up at the emergency room. They admit you, and you don't have to pay for it. You go to the government office. You get a check every month. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, it's, oh, he's bashing. I'm just saying that they keep you comfortable when you're homeless, right? When you're out here trying to be a millionaire, or when you're a millionaire, you're super uncomfortable. And so I believe, like, this force of average on this planet's jobs to keep comfortable. And a lot of people would rather be comfortable than go through the stress it takes to get to success.
What do you actually think it takes to succeed? What's the success factor, if you will, behind success?
That's a good question, man. You know, what it's taken for me is to just patience. Here's what happens for most people. We know that, like, you know, what is it? 80% of companies, like, die in the first 3 years or whatever the fuck, right? Some crazy statistic like that exists. And for me, I just know this, that everybody sees, like, let's take Cardone, man. I like that guy. You know, he's got a Rolls Royce black badge, a Cullinan. He sold out a 30,000 person event last year, jumped out of a plane. He's got his own jet, you know, and owns, you know, I think just this week he said he did $250 million worth of deals. I mean, the guy's fucking on fire. But he's 60 years old. He looks 30. I will give him that. He looks 30, right? I like to take some credit for that because he didn't look like that before I got on the scene. Now he's T-shirts. So I'm you're watching me, damn it. I like it. I'm flattered. I like that, man. If I did play even a small role in inspiring his style, dude, that's awesome, you know. And but here's the thing though. He's 60, and even though he doesn't look 60, he is, which means that I've known Grant since 2011. I went to a seminar. His first seminar that I went to was in 2011, and he didn't look the way that he looked now, and he wasn't living the way that he didn't drive a Rolls Royce. He was flying in the back of an airplane. This is fucking 9 years ago, folks. 8 years ago. He was flying in the back of an airplane. He was pitching the shit himself. Like, he was still going to dealerships, walking up on doors and walking in. That's how the fuck we got to know him. He was still doing small events. There weren't more than 20 or 30 people in the fucking room when I showed up at the event that he was doing. Like, you know, that's what he did, right? And so now we see, he'd been doing that for 20 years prior to that point. Right. So now we see this guy who's 60 years old, 10 years later, who's been putting in the work for 30 years. And you think, oh, he's balling out of control, this, that, and the other, got the paddock and got all these cars and the penthouse and everything else. But what you don't see is that it wasn't that long ago. And 2 years ago, that dude didn't even own real estate. Right. That guy's got like $1 billion because he was saving the money the whole time. So here's what most people do. And this is what it takes. Most people quit along the way. Well, all it takes to be successful is to just keep going, right? Do you know, I've been doing this for 9 years. Yeah. The first 5 years, it was horrible. Nobody bought my shit. I mean, and you think to me, $100,000, $200,000 wasn't shit because I was used to making $500,000 in the mortgages. Yeah. So here I am, the internet, dude, and I'm taking a significant freaking pay cut, right? Yeah. But I just knew that if I just stuck with it long enough, if I just kept going, if I wrote enough blogs, made enough videos, did enough Facebook posts, and dude, I've seen a lot of people drop off along the way, and dude, I just keep picking up steam. I was really successful in 2008, 9, and 10 in the mortgage business because while everybody was dropping off, I was asking for their leads. You know, and I've been doing the same thing. So if you truly want to be successful, you don't have to be great at something. Be good and do it enough and long enough, you'll eventually become great anyway.
That is huge, by the way. That is great. Let me tell you something. You just mentioned Grant Cardone. Do you have any mentors?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Ed Milet and Andy Frisella are my mentors. And Grant's partner, Frank Kern. I mean, me and Frank been working. Like, they've known each other for about 3 years. I've been working with Frank since 2012, I think. So, dude, I've had I'm always have a mentor. And what happens when I was at six figures, I got a mentor that got me to 7. I had 7. I found a mentor that got me to 8. So when I was at 6 figures, I hired Frank Kern because he was still fairly new into the stuff at the time. He wasn't the distinguished gentleman we know now. He was like a stoner surfer guy. And he was, right? You could go back and see his old videos. That's who he was. And, you know, he was doing 7 figures a year, you know, and so he helped me get to there. Same with Kevin Nations. Then I got with Brunson and worked with Russell Brunson for a year. And he was doing 8 figures at the time. I believe he's at 9 now. But the crowd really thins out at 8. A lot of people lying about their production and shit, man. The real people, like, separate at 8 figures. A lot of them drop off at 7. A lot drop off at 8. But I'm at a point now where I have an 8-figure enterprise myself. So my mentors are 9-figure and 10-figure guys, Andy Frisella and Ed Milet. So they're my true mentors. Like, we speak, we go to events together, and I pay for their mentorship.
It's amazing how your story is amazing how you went from a drug dealer to over 8 figures. That's insane. Let me ask you, do you have any daily habits or morning rituals that you do every day?
Yeah, man, I live by something called the G code, and it's the code to have a great life. You know, like if the force of average that I was talking about is like this algorithm to keep you comfortable, the G code is like the copy and paste script that you would put in there that beats the virus, right? That keeps you average.
Right.
And so there's 4 average you have to focus on every day. We have a superpower, it's focus. Most people fuck it up with Adderall and everything else, but the truth is we have superpower, but there's 4 things we have to focus on every day. And I have a routine that I live by that's got me where I'm at, right? Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean you have to follow my routine, but it's worked really, really well for me. I drove here to the office in a Lamborghini today. It's very, very effective formula for me. So the first G is you have to have a grateful mindset. Mm-hmm. 4 areas that all start with G, right? Because the internet marketer, you got to make it catchy. And so the first G is a grateful mindset. Every morning, the second I wake up, I have a little app, the G Code app. And on that app, I write in 5 things that I'm grateful for. Okay. It pulls up the date and I write in 5 things. It might be the wife, kids, home, pillow, dog, whatever. Right. And then the next thing I do, because what I'm doing is not after I wake up and use the restroom, not after I brush my teeth, not after I eat coffee, whatever, first thing in the morning, because what that's forcing my mind to do instantly when I wake up is find something to be thankful for, because there's going to be plenty of stuff trying to piss me off later on. Second thing you got to work on is your genetics, right? I live by a diet. I use Andy Frisella's products, First Form. I take his vitamins and bars in the morning, and I go to the gym. And I do that first thing in the morning because that's when it's been scientifically proven is the best time to go. But more importantly, I don't like going to the gym. So if I just get it out of the way early, then I'm done for the day, right? Yeah. I've been doing it for 20 years. People always like, you don't have any before and after pics? There wasn't ever a before. I've just like did it once and kept doing it for 20 years now. Literally, exercise is the most consistent thing I've ever done in my life. Thank God. The next G is your grind, right? Your work. You got to go to your job. You got to be focused on your job. Here's my cheat code for work, right? To stay focused at work. Schedule every single detail out. Don't just write a list of things to do. Write the time you're going to do it. I use Google Calendar. And here's what happens as salespeople, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we don't have a manager. We don't have somebody looking over our shoulder to make sure that we do our job. So that schedule is that accountability buddy. That schedule is the person looking over your shoulder, making sure that you meet time demands and making sure that you're not distracted. So getting really focused and using a calendar is which obviously you do too, because you hit me up 10 minutes before this thing.
Exactly.
So, and when you went through that process with me, right? Like that's how I live. I don't just preach this shit. I live by it. And the last thing is the group of people you're around. And I think that's the most important. Because if you got the right people, they're going to call you out if you're not healthy. If you got the right people, they're going to call you out if you're not eating right. If you got the right people, they're going to call you out if your mindset's shit. If you got the right people in your life, they're going to make sure you're working hard, right? But so many people, they get stuck with their family of origin, right? Like the people from their neighborhood, the people that are their parents. And just because somebody like came up with you when you were young doesn't mean that you have to end life with them. I believe we have an opportunity to build what's called a family of choice. Being someone who's adopted, it's a little different for me than most people, but I believe a family of choice is more important. Like I chose my wife. I chose to have kids. I chose the people who work here for me. I chose the clients that I have. I chose the business referral partners. I chose to be on this podcast and build a relationship with you, Paul. Right. I think that's important because I've been in a situation, I'll never forget, my 7th grade principal, Marcus Everett, he told me, he said, Ryan, if you hang around rattlesnakes, you're going to end up getting bit.
Yeah.
And I did. That's when I hung around drug dealers and pimps and all that shit. And I ended up getting bit. And I ended up doing about 3 years of my life, a little bit more than that, in prison because of that. And now I hang out with the Ed Miletts, the Frank Kerns, the Grant Cardones of the world. And most of my friends are millionaires. And I was listening to a 2 Chainz song the other day, and he's like, I don't fuck with anybody who's associate. He goes, I don't associate with anybody whose associates don't at least have an M. Mm-hmm. And because it's important, not because I think I'm better than anybody. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm like, oh, they're not millionaires. Ooh, like it's not like that at all. It's that, hey man, I right now, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm an 8. You know what I'm saying? It's less, and Ed Milet and Andy Frisella are 10s. Right. So I'm trying to get as close to them as possible so they can level me up to 10s. I got to stay away from the 4s and 5s or they'll bring me back down to a 6 or a 7.
Pretty much. If you hang out with 5 losers, you'll be the 6th. Now, I know you're pressed for time, so I'm going to ask you one last question. And then I'm going to end this podcast, say goodbye to everyone. Thank you guys for watching, by the way. This is Ryan Stewman, the Hardcore Closer. And we're going to ask a few questions for the book exclusively. Ryan, what is the one question you wish people asked you but seldom do?
Man, I don't know, dude. People ask me everything.
What do you think they should ask you, though? What would you like them to ask you to help them, if you will, or something that, you would like to get out there? Like the most important question, if you will, for success.
Man, a lot of people think of me as like a sales trainer, and really I'm like a mindset guy. But I get the question a lot. A lot of like podcast people don't ask me, but I get the question in private a lot. It's like, how do you get through the tough times, right? Because I've had some pretty rough times in my life, and I wish that maybe people ask it publicly a little bit more, because there's ways that I know we don't have time now to get through it, but that's a big one that a lot of folks don't like ask me publicly, to where like I'm on videos and stuff like this to where I can answer that question for them. You know what I mean? It's always privately.
So that's the question. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, man. Thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Check out Ryan Stewman. Links are down below. And thanks, man. I really appreciate it. This was huge. I got a lot of insight about you, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, Paul.
Okay, and thank you guys for watching. And I will see you next time. And until next time, as always, keep succeeding.